Really, the goal is just to use our stories to bring veterinary medicine to life for the pet caretakers of the world. And we're doing it because we believe that educating these caretakers is the most powerful thing that we can do to improve the life quality of all of the pets that we love. Hello, welcome to Vet Tales. I am Dr. Natalie Keith.
I am Dr. Jessica Eastep, and we're here at Northside Veterinary Hospital.
Yes, Dr. Eastep, this is your first episode on Vet Tales. How's it feel?
It feels good. I'm excited.
Yeah. Dr. Eastep's been with us for over a year now. We're cranking into the year two.
Year two.
And drug her onto the podcast already, so yay. Today we are talking about vaccinations. Apparently, I didn't know this, but my office manager who keeps track of everything said that August is National Immunization Awareness Month.
Yeah, for dogs and cats.
Yeah,
for animals.
Pets, animals, yeah. Which she said actually now they're doing, I think, humans in the same month too. She was like, she came in later and was like, wait, because I think it used to be in July, but now it's just all together. So, which makes sense because a lot of our diseases are zoonotic.
Yeah, what dogs can get, people can get a lot of the time. So, certainly important that they go together, really.
Honestly, because yes, while we are different, we are also all mammals, and a lot of these diseases can cross species. Yeah. So, I think the biggest hurdle for me is when we start talking about immunizations, is that there's a gajillion.
Yes.
Approximately. I think it's nearly a gajillion.
It's, roundabout, more or less.
If you round to the nearest gajillion, it certainly is.
It's there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so it's like you kind of got to take it one bite at a time. Mm-hmm.
Well, and a lot of companies make vaccines, but they're not really needed or effective.
Yeah. So then, you got to start sorting through. And then not all vaccines are needed for every pet in every circumstance.
Or every state.
Or, in every area.
Yeah.
For sure. Like Lyme disease, we don't have in Oklahoma. There is a vaccine for it. We don't carry it here because we don't have Lyme, because we don't have a white-footed deer mouse or whatever it is.
Something like that. In Texas, they carry a lot of rattlesnake vaccines. But while we do have that here, it's not something super common.
Yeah. And is the rattlesnake, I feel like that vaccine is actually like you give it after the bite.
Yeah.
It's not like a vaccine that you give to...
I have been to clinics that have prophylactically.
No kidding.
Yeah, giving it,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Look at me learning today. Yeah. You're never too old to learn.
Yeah. I'm not sure if that worked or not, but
something
they did both ways.
Yeah. I mean, what are the, how at risk does your pet need to be of a rattlesnake bite before you feel like the vaccine is worth it? I don't know. Is it expensive?
I don't remember it being, but the clinics I worked at in Texas, I probably saw 3 or 4 rattlesnake bites a day.
Whoa!
Yeah, so they had it.
Okay, because I might see 3 or 4 snake bites a year, and they're usually copperheads, honestly, here.
Right.
Back home, which was northwest Oklahoma, if a dog was bit by a snake, it was probably a rattlesnake. We really didn't have copperheads there.
Right.
So
region dependent.
Yeah, and that was only 3 hours away.
I know. So where I was 4 hours away from here, so I thought it was crazy that they were seeing that much.
And what's weird is you're talking about 3 to 4 hours south, and I was 3 to 4 hours north. So I don't know. Anyway, the point is, vaccines can get really, really complicated really, really quickly.
Yes.
So I guess for me, it's a little bit interesting because Dr. Eastep and I did a Facebook Live last week about rabies, actually. But I still feel like it's maybe the one I want to focus on first today.
Yeah, really, I would say it's the most important for all species because rabies is fatal.
Yeah, and it is something that we as humans can get from animals, and it's a big deal. Like if you're even thinking you might have been exposed, you have to go through some pretty intense prophylactic shots and such that are no fun and very expensive and no fun. I know I said that once, but I feel like
it's really not fun.
It's really not fun.
And it is very expensive.
It's very expensive.
Yeah, most insurances don't cover it.
Yeah, but you got to do it.
Yep.
I mean, if you're even a little bit worried that you might have been exposed. So we call ourselves Vet Tales because I really like to incorporate real life stories from our own experiences. Have you ever had a rabies scare?
With me? No. Not within me or my personal animals, but I have seen animals with rabies.
Okay, well, what was the first animal you saw with rabies?
A cow.
Of course.
Yeah.
Nobody's thinking about the cow.
No, a lot of people don't think of those large animals, but they're the ones that are out on pastures, and they're coming across wild animals that are the ones that are carrying rabies and giving it to our domestic animals.
Yeah. Yeah. We were talking about again, I feel like we feel like we just talked about this, but you guys haven't heard us, so, unless you watched the live. But, I think it's, interesting because our large animals, the cattle and horses, they are the least likely to be vaccinated, and yet they're the ones out in the pasture all day long. So, when a rabid animal, usually a skunk or raccoon in these cases, but also bats, of course, the rabies messes their mind up, and so it makes them aggressive. It paralyzes their swallowing apparatus, and so they've got all this drool everywhere, which is where the vaccine or where the virus is just like
living.
Yeah. I mean, it's thriving in that saliva.
Yep.
So then basically, when a host becomes bit by a animal that is already carrying rabies, then they can contract the disease, and it's terrifying to me because of the amount of time that it can take.
Right, and what was it? Up to 6 months?
Up to 6 months, yeah, depending on where the bite is.
Right. Yeah, because it has to, wherever the bite is, it travels from that bite to the neurons in your body, and it has to travel all the way up to your brain to start showing symptoms of rabies that you classically think of. So if you're bit on your butt, then it's going to take a long time to travel all the way to your brain, but if you're bit on your neck,
right,
it's a lot closer.
Yeah, or if you're like a horse that's really tall and you get bit on the ankle versus like a cat,
right,
it just doesn't take as long. But they do statistically say that 6 months is kind of the max window, but like nobody wants to be in that window.
No one. You don't want that anxiety, that thought, having to wait that long for your pet or yourself.
Yeah.
On how long that could take, waiting to see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've had a couple of different rabies incidences in my life that stand out. One was about 8 years ago, maybe 9, and a family had this little, like maybe 4 or 5 month old husky mixed puppy come up to their house, and like they didn't know where it came from. Huskies are kind of known escape artists.
Yes.
But they were taking care of it, and it had been at the house for like, I don't know, a week or 2, and they noticed it was kind of staggering and looking dazed.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and so the owners were like, they were pretty aware. They immediately were like, oh no, what if this is rabies?
Good.
Yeah. So they, carefully kind of corral this dog he was not aggressive at the time, but was clearly not like aware. Normal, he was out of it. Yeah. Just kind of staggering about, kind of almost seemed like he couldn't see well. Was stumbling around and looked a bit frantic. So you kind of got this image in your mind of like, if I tried to get a hold of this dog and hold him to me, like, to give him a shot or something like that, a vaccine, whatever, like there's a very good chance he's going to try to bite.
Right, which is scary.
Because then, I mean, that's the thing. So Dr. Estep and I are vaccinated for rabies, but most people aren't. So we get this dog into the clinic, and it's like it was goosebump, hair raising, like you just knew. Oh. And so it was sad. Rabies is not a fun thing to talk about, because ultimately what we had to do in that situation was euthanize the pet. And sure enough, the test came back confirmative that it did have rabies. And so one of the family members had to undergo the prophylaxis, because it's not a risk you take.
Yeah, that is not a risk you take at all.
Yeah, because if they've been handling this dog and they've got open cuts even, and get the saliva, like
it's scary. So if you ever see an animal like acting weird like that, just don't go near them. Just leave
What
them
should
alone.
we do?
I recommend calling animal control.
Yeah.
Yep. I actually saw a skunk the other day. About a month ago. And it was out in broad daylight, and it looked real funky.
Yeah.
And it was wobbling and looked out of it and kept running into stuff. So I called animal control to come get it because I don't want anyone to get bit or anyone to touch it.
No, because they'll run right up to people
Right.
and bite them.
Right.
Because the rabies, makes them do that.
Yes.
It's just creepy. But, and then skunks also I think is interesting, as well as bats. They can just be carriers and be relatively normal too, which is why you should also
Just leave them alone.
leave them alone. Great idea. Yeah, and then my other story with the rabies was just recently, there was a bat just laying dead on our sidewalk, and I haven't seen a bat in a long time, in a while. I remember terrifyingly. I remember catching one as a child and having it in a cup. I know, I didn't die. It was great.
Oh my gosh.
I know, nobody even sent up red flags. Anyway, so it's good news. Didn't die.
Glad you're here with us today.
Here today to tell the tale of when I got a bat when I was in 2nd grade. Have I always loved animals? The answer is yes. Okay, moving on. So anyway, this dead bat. Well, my cats, I'll be honest, were behind on their vaccines up until about a month ago. I finally was like, I've got to get this done. So my husband and I vaccinated my kitty cats, and but otherwise, I know for a fact my cats killed that bat, and the only reason that they were able to get a hold of it was because it was not okay. Mm-hmm. And so why are bats not okay? Rabies is on your top 3 out of 5
Always.
reasons.
Mm-hmm. Always.
Yeah. So luckily they were vaccinated, but had they not been, I would have to be weighing out that scenario of okay, do I let my kids pet these cats for the next 6 months?
Right.
What do I do with them for the next 6 months?
Right.
How do we survive this? You could always. We decided not to test the bat for rabies because everybody in our environment was vaccinated, horses and all. So we just didn't. But certainly probably should have. And you can get that done for free. You can take them to your state lab wherever you're at. In Oklahoma, it's ODL.
Yeah, Oklahoma Animal Diagnostic
Disease Diagnostic Lab, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Stillwater. So, and they will test those animals for free. You can drop off the sample, and which in the case of a bat is the entire bat.
Yes, and bigger animals, it's unfortunately just their head.
Just their head, yes, which is a little bit grim, but also accurate. So,
Yes.
which is just another reason not to be scary, but honestly, it's scary. So vaccinate your pets.
Yes, please.
And thank you.
Yeah. So I'm sure most state labs have it for free. So if you have that option, why not?
Yeah, better safe than sorry on something
sorry.
that can literally kill you. So
yeah, they want to know just as much as you do.
Yeah, because it is important for just public health awareness. Right. There was a lady in Norman a few years back that a bat flew down and bit her and her bulldog.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Actually, I don't know if she got bit, but the bulldog did.
Right.
It was rabies vaccinated though.
Good.
Yeah, but then they tested the bat and it was rabid. So.
Good grief.
Yeah. So, even though you think my dog's not really at risk, that's just not true.
Yeah, I mean, just like that lady. She was walking her dog
in
town, and a bat broad daylight swooped down and bit her dog. So you never know, and especially in Oklahoma, there's plenty of wildlife everywhere.
Yeah, did you know that the raccoon population is actually denser within city limits than in the in the wildlife area,
because they're getting into stuff.
Yeah, because they like the trash, which is why you should vaccinate all your little dogs in the backyard for lepto.
Yes.
If you're a breeder, please stop.
Yeah.
Please stop telling your little dog new puppy parents that they shouldn't vaccinate for lepto.
Lepto is very much needed because it's spread through urine. And so
of wildlife,
and so they're everywhere and they pee everywhere, and then your dogs or cats or whatever walk through it, and then they can get lepto.
Which is a bacteria. Yeah, and it can make you sick if you touch their urine.
Yes.
So again, another zoonotic disease we vaccinate for, and back in the day, because I don't want to date myself.
Okay.
But 20 years ago.
Okay.
When I started teching. The vaccines were a little bit irritating to the patients. We had a lot of reactions where they get the hives or stomach aches and things like that, fevers.
Right.
Now they're just much, much safer.
Yeah. They've really they in general, as science, has come a long way with making vaccines and their ability to make them safe and effective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So definitely vaccine rates, reaction rates are probably like 1 in 10,000 or something. Something far greater than the odds of you actually getting like the disease. That it would be much more likely, like for feline leukemia for our kitty cats. That's like a cat outdoors has like a 1 in 25 chance of catching leukemia and like a 1 in 10,000 chance of having a leukemia related vaccine reaction. And leukemia is fatal, and vaccine reactions 99 times out of 100 are not.
Right. And we don't pick these vaccines just to give them. It is a weighing the risk versus the benefits. And if we're recommending it, we've determined that the benefits are far greater than the risks.
Yeah, and here at our hospital and in many hospitals, these vaccine protocols are very pet specific. Rabies isn't. Rabies is like
everyone.
Yes. All pets. But in general, we're looking at this situation. How old is your pet? What is their risk? Where do they live? Where do they go? And these types of things, if not to determine which vaccines, at least to determine how often do they need them.
Right. Yes. So for dogs, our core vaccines that we recommend all the time are distemper, adenovirus, parvo, and rabies. But we have, a couple others that are technically lifestyle vaccines that we recommend, like flu and Bordetella.
Yeah, and those are, I think, the lifestyle vaccines specifically. All of these things we're considering, but lifestyle ones, we call them that because it is extremely variable depending on, does your dog go to the groomer, really? Or boarding.
Or stores, or do you travel publicly with your dog?
Yeah, flu has been a really big deal in Oklahoma.
Since January.
It's when it came to Shawnee, so central Oklahoma. It started on the outer cusps of it, even back like in last October, which October 22. And,
time flies.
Wow. It? Yeah. It's been almost a year ago. And so we'd never had to vaccinate for flu, and now all of a sudden we do.
Right. It's shutting down shelters.
Yeah, like for good.
City. Yep.
Some of them just flat closed, so there's no more animal shelters in those areas.
Right.
Which is sad.
Very sad.
But flu is a pretty aggressive and, random, I guess, because you don't really know exactly who's going to get super sick. I hate saying the word COVID.
Right, but
it is a little bit like that, where it's like, you may not get sick at all, and you may get, die.
Yeah, that's how I describe it to clients, and no one likes throwing that word around, COVID.
Yeah, because we're all traumatized
of what happened, but it is very similar, and it's variable, super variable on, am I just going to have a light cough for a week, or am I going to be hospitalized long term because I'm very, very sick?
Pneumonia that scars your lung tissue.
Yes.
It is, I think the one thing that is a little bit different, though, from flu to COVID or flu to human flu, for example, is that it doesn't really mutate much.
Right.
Like, we've had the same 2 strains, the same vaccines are very effective, and that's been going on since flu first showed up in the States 15 years ago?
2001.
Oh, mercy. It's been over 2 decades. Okay, well, I lost track of time.
I could be lying to you. Somewhere in that area.
Yeah, and it kind of flares. It comes and goes. So a flu actually kind of shut down when COVID happened because people weren't traveling with their pets, and so we didn't see a lot of flu. And then all of a sudden, boom, it's back.
Yes, and it tends to pop up in states at random. So, like Oklahoma before that did not really have canine flu, and then suddenly it's here, and we'll always have it now.
Yep, and it comes and goes just like human flu, where you probably had it, and your doctor will be like, oh, the flu's going around, and it's like, yeah, that's same here.
Yeah.
Same for dogs, but the vaccine is consistently effective. We don't have to change it year to year, and it still works.
Right. Yes.
So anyway, but if your dog doesn't travel, board, groom, it's almost, at non-risk level, and so we don't recommend it necessarily unless you just...
You can definitely get it.
You can.
Yeah, for the off chance that a random dog comes up to your house with flu. But it's not necessarily something that we really have to have.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you're going boarding, especially if you're boarding, it's like you will see us fight tooth and nail to get your dog protected.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, that and kennel cough, which kennel cough it's caused by multiple viruses and bacteria. So that's your Bordetella vaccine. And it's not typically life-threatening, but it still can be annoying, and it's very contagious. So I recommend that one as well.
Yeah, and our Bordetella has parainfluenza in it as well, but there's like 10 or 11 known causes of kennel cough or infectious tracheitis, as we like to diagnose it in the computer with. And not all of them are preventable. So you just prevent what you can. Bordetella is opportunistic, and so if your dog gets, let's say, mycoplasma, which is one of the most common reasons the dogs get kennel cough, then the Bordetella will make it so much worse.
It's a secondary invader, and it adds to the sickness.
Indeed.
Yeah.
What about for so Dr. Estep's a surgeon. That's her
That's what
passion.
I like. Yes, I like surgery.
Yeah. So what about for surgery patients? What are required here?
So rabies,
Yeah.
absolutely, but also DHLPP, distemper, hepatitis, lepto, parvo, and parainfluenza, and then flu and Bordetella as well.
Yeah. Which if they're gonna stay here, they've got to have the flu and the Bordetella. If they don't have to stay, they don't have to have those. But yeah, when you're gonna be messing with trach tubes and up in their mouth and stuff like that, the rabies is a must. And then of course upper respiratory diseases can be spread that way.
Right. And we have a lot of animals that pass through here in a day, and while we keep everything clean, things are still contagious, and so you want your animal to be protected, even though it's coming here for maybe a minor procedure. You want them to be protected.
Yeah, because surgery is going to stress the immune system no matter what, and so you want to make sure that they're set up for the win.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Okay, so I think that's kind of all we can cover in one day about vaccines. I think, if we, as we continue to go down the road of podcasts, we can start breaking these diseases out a little bit.
Right, yeah, to describe them. And
yeah, exactly. So why are we vaccinating for adenovirus? Like, nobody knows about adenovirus.
Yeah.
It's like, what does that A stand for in the vaccine? Or is it an H?
Yeah, it's both.
It used to be herpes virus. So if you've been around long enough, they all change names. So anyway, so that's all we have for you guys today. Feel free to, you can always go to our Facebook page and put up any questions you have, or send us an email, even text us at Northside Veterinary Hospital in Shawnee, Oklahoma, for any questions you have about what we talked about today or more. And then otherwise, we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
All right, bye guys.